Okay, I will try again. The patriarchy. I should really say it with a kind of a, some kind of like a shrieking voice or something, because I think that's how it's supposed to be pronounced. The patriarchy. Um, Sorry about a few minutes ago. I tried to do a live stream. I tried to start a live stream, and the connection is unstable. Um, so that's been a problem ever since they unleashed the monster, which is called 5G, the 5G network. Sorry, can't do anything about that. Hope you are finding this live stream again. We're going to talk about the patriarchy, or rather, the whole idea of the patriarchy and how it's the root, the source of all evil. Let me just say hello to the good people here. Angela, KP Heathen, Stephen, Dennis Larsson, Diablo Blanca, Green Eyed Lady. Good to see you all. There will be no surprises here if you have been following me for a while. Mm. I'm inspired to talk about this idea of the patriarchy being the root of all evil, because we are currently having the election debates and so on in Norway, and the left they have kind of changed. They become more radical, or should I say more, I don't know what to call them. But they have been listening too much to podcasts and stuff like that from the left in the USA. And like most horrible ideas, horrible trends, this one comes from the USA as well, I believe. And they like to say, the left politicians, they are now saying, and this wasn't a thing previously, but now they're saying white, as if it's a slur, as if it's a bad thing. So they have been taught to say white man, and yeah, and if you didn't know, a white man is like the spawn of Satan himself. Now I'm saying that as not being a Christian, but you know what I mean. And yeah, so basically the idea is that the patriarchy needs to be dismantled. And if you are a man, you are having privileges in society because of the patriarchy. And the patriarchy, of course, is a thing in a historical context and a cultural context. The patriarchy is basically those cultures built upon structures where a man is the leader of that structure. So a good example would be the family unit, like 1950s, 1960s, and the man would be like the leader of the family. If I'm sure you can envision that image of dad sitting there with his slippers on, reading the newspapers, while mom is at the kitchen making dinner and all of that, and um, and I'm not saying that we haven't had patriarchal structures up through history. Of course we have. It's a very common way to structure society. And I think it comes down to, it boils down to human nature, women being more okay with following, can I say, a leader, and men being more okay with being that leader. So, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. Have we had matriarchies? Yes, there have been matriarchies up through human history, but those are much more rare. And the idea is, of course, also that if you have a matriarch, like a state leader, there won't be as many wars, and there, sorry, and there won't be. It will be kinder, and that's rubbish. That's just not true at all. And then people will say, if you say, well, look at Queen Victoria, um, and they will say that, well, it was like that, and it was not peaceful. That's because of the patriarchy, and she also was a victim of the patriarchy. Now, and I think that if you look at history, I want to say that if you look at history today with what we know now, and you actually believe that men have been the oppressors and women have been the victims up through history, that's just been how it has been, then you don't know history at all. You don't understand anything, because the reality is that the most common thing, at least in historic times, historic not being prehistoric times, the most common way to structure a culture or a society seems to be you have some very few men, like very, very few men, a handful of men. They are on top. They decide everything, and they have all the privileges. And all the other people, all the other men, all the women there, they do not have those privileges. They do not really have freedom, and they do not really have the power to change things. So they were all oppressed, except those few, normally men, on top. And that's what these people, these self-proclaimed feminists, don't seem to get. So, and it kind of needs to be said. And I want to bring this to our present culture, our present society. And let's have a look at the chat here. If we get the Bible thumpers, they will be gone. Let's see here. Support your local Hells Angels motorcycle club. What? No, don't do that. That's a horrible idea. That was a troll, I believe. Slimo says no more white men on Australian TV ads. Yeah, I've seen that tendency here as well, and it's almost laughable, because you can't have Norway is quite what's the word? It's not so multi-ethnic here. People kind of look the same. Mostly white people. There are mostly white people in Norway, because we haven't really had that much immigration from, in lack of a better term, non-white countries. So people kind of look white here, and I don't like that term because I don't see myself as white. I see myself as not even Norwegian. I am Norwegian, but I see myself as Norse. That's my ethnic group, actually. But yeah, in the ads, you can't have a white family in the ads on the TV. That's like, it's hilarious. And IKEA is the worst, actually, and they've been doing this for many, many years now. It must be a multi-ethnic family, and it's like, I don't care. I don't mind. It's not like, oh, there's a black man there in that ad. Oh, I won't buy that product then. What? No, no, I don't care. But it's just that it's it's so, you can tell that they are doing this on purpose, and that makes it laughable. So yeah. But okay, cheers. What can the Havamal teach us about the current events? Junior of Chicago is asking that. Well, I think first of all that the Havamal is teaching us that we need to remain stoic and intelligent, and we need to put our emotions and opinions aside and look at the facts. That's what it says in Havamal. Now, I want to talk about feminism as well, because there was a time when I would absolutely say that I am a feminist, because the meaning of that was simply that men and women should have the same opportunities and the same rights. I hope that nobody's against that here, in the chat, or anyone listening. I mean, it's kind of crazy if you think that women should not have the same rights and opportunities as men. And I and if you think that they shouldn't have that, then I disagree with you. Absolutely disagree with you. But feminism now has become, it's been one of those times, I guess, when an ideology, that was kind of just not really an ideology, but just common sense, and it's changed, and now there's a lot of man hating there. That's a shame. There's a lot of man hating, a lot of critical race theory, critical theory, I guess, they have added there. And feminism now has become, I don't know, it's absolutely something I do not support the way it is now. It's a very harsh ideology. It's a very hateful ideology. And that's why I'm against it. And I kind of hate the fact that feminism was hijacked by these extreme people, and the whole idea of feminism went from something that I think we can all agree with, from that to something that I think, if you agree with modern feminism now, then honestly there's something wrong with you. Sorry, but I do not believe in hate. I do not believe in seeing the world seeing the world through the lens of white men bad and patriarchy and all of that, because it's just not correct. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, KB, thank you for reminding me. I think a lot of women are deceived by it and regret not having children later in life. Yes, I think so too. And yeah, I can't put it in any better way than you did there. But there is something else here as well. So I think that a lot of these things can be seen as just human nature. It's an expression of human nature. And what women do, and what women have always done, is that I think women can't really, they don't really, it's not conscious even. They just do it. They test men. So, and this is, don't get me wrong here, you know, if you approach a woman, I don't know if anyone's doing that anymore, but if you do that, no means no, okay? That needs to be remembered, okay? All the guys listening here, no means no, yeah? But there is something that needs to be said about how women test men, and um, women can give you a hard time. And they do that because sometimes they do that because they want to see that you are strong, right? That you are a real man, if in lack of a better term. Um, and again, it's difficult to talk about because I do not want to be that guy on the internet that says that you should just pursue women even if they say no. No, don't do that. Okay, but women will test men, and I think actually that wearing this mask of feminism, which they often do, which women often do, it's one of the ways that they test men. And in my life, I have come across it on several occasions. And it's a mask, it's a veil, it's a kind of a filter that you need to be able to see through. Some women are true feminists, but there are not that many of them actually, in my experience. Now you could say, oh, but you're old, you know. Yeah, I was young once. um, and you could say that it's so difficult now, but it wasn't that much. Well, it's always been difficult. That's kind of the point, right? Approaching women and all that. So here comes some dating tips from your uncle Bjorn here. So it's always been difficult to approach women. That's kind of the point. Because if it's easy, that woman thinks that she will be perceived as someone who just accepts any man, and that's not really attractive, is it? It really isn't. So yeah, but I think also men need to, or young men need to be need to look at themselves in the mirror, quite literally. You know, shape up, um, and they're used to now being on their smartphone all of the time, and it takes a few seconds, and they will see a naked woman there on some website. Yeah. When I grew up, when I was a young man, that was not a thing. And I think that it's, I'm not being like, I'm not actually talking about morals and stuff like that, but I'm just saying that when you're used to that, then you're, I think it distorts things. Um, so you go from that, and then that's what you want from this woman that you're approaching. But again, what I'm reading is that young men are not approaching women anymore. And I think they should. I think they should, in a nice way. In a nice way, not in a sleazy way, but in a nice way. And I think women want that. Um, but let's see here. We need to do some fat shaming as well. We can't talk about modern women and modern men without doing some fat shaming. Let's do some fat shaming. People now, especially young people, they are fat, and they should not be fat. So, and so it's like it's okay. It's normally seen as not very attractive to be fat. So stop being fat. Okay. This sounds very simple, but I don't know why people eat so much now, and I have witnessed it several times actually, and I'm a big guy. I weigh 102 kilos, um, but even I'm not eating that much. I try to avoid these extended family occasions. I hate that. I hate those occasions. But on those occasions, I see how much people eat. It's insane, you know. So no wonder people are fat. And stop eating so much. Go for a walk, a daily walk. Go to the gym and spend time actually training instead of filming yourself. You know, that goes for both men and women. Um, if you look like a blob, it's that's on you in 99% of the cases, and you're probably not that 1%. Eat less, move more around. That will make you more attractive. So it's simple. It actually is very simple. Now I'm a little bit fat now because of the weight class I'm competing in on Saturday. If I then qualify, well, let's see how it goes. But hopefully I will reach my goals on Saturday, and then I can finally drop my body weight down again. Because I don't like to be this heavy, you know. So how do you achieve not being so heavy? You eat less. Okay. So yeah, so a bit of fat shaming there. Um, uh, yes, feeling better naturally says it's the ultra processed foods that promote inflammation. Yeah, absolutely. The seed oils as well. And it's not really food. We're not supposed to eat that stuff. Um, and I always say that you should eat stuff that you can see what's in it, like vegetables, fish, and meat. That should be the basis of your diet. Not salmon. Not salmon. So let's see. Wendy says you have your free time to yourself to exercise and you are not responsible for feeding others. Is that directed towards me? I don't know. Are you talking about having small children? I have had small children. It wasn't a problem to not be fat during that time. Actually, I didn't have so much time to eat. So, but anyway, it's really sad to see. As a man, I will say I don't care if men are fat. I don't look at men, but it's like I think it's very sad to see that women now are so overweight. I think it's just it's the way I see it. It's like I like nature. I like the woods. I like the scenery, and if they cut down all the trees in one area, I think that's horrible. And it's, in the way I see it, it's a little bit the same with women who don't take care of their health, and they get very fat. I don't like to see that. I think it's just depressing to see. I'm not saying that I stare at women, but men look at women. Okay, that's just how it is. But it's less nice now than it used to be many years ago. Okay, and that's just sad. And of course, as I've said before, I can add to that there's a lot of tattoos and piercings and stuff like that. I hate to see that. That's just also something that shouldn't be there. I don't like seeing that. And yeah, we talked about that in another live stream. There's actually been done some research on the reasons why and all of that. But yeah, Wendy seems to be a little bit angry at me here. Says, feed men salads so they won't be fat, and see how long you're allowed to stay at home taking care of a family. Okay. Well, actually, salads is not how you stay healthy and with a low fat percentage. You do that by eating a lot of meat and cutting down on the carbs, right? If you just eat salads and carbs, you will lose the muscle and keep a lot of the fat. So, yeah, I was in Rocky Mountain Bear. I was in California, and I was amazed at the unhealth in your country, or at least in California. And I was amazed at how short people are over there. Short and round. So, yeah. Lots of obesity. Yeah, but don't worry, we are getting fat in Norway as well now. It's not as bad, but it's people are working hard on getting fatter. That's absolutely a thing. Now, it wasn't just Mexicans, at least it didn't look like that. Louis says we can't control our height. Absolutely, yeah. I was just, that's not a, I didn't say that as a negative thing. I was, Scandinavians are quite tall, and it was just, I was not prepared for that. Ted Wolf Resistance says, the only time I was ever in a strip bar down in Texas, I tipped 2 gals because they did not have any tattoos or piercings. Well, yeah, that's another thing I don't understand, actually. The strip bars, what's the point? I don't get it. I don't get why. Why? Yeah, but anyway. Angela, yeah, the fast food chains are absolutely here, but you see, if you go to McDonald's here, it's not the same as a McDonald's in the USA or some other countries, because what they put in that meal in the USA is not allowed here. So actually, as far as I know, the hamburger meal, I don't know about the French fries, but the hamburger itself is not unhealthy. It's proper food actually, and people think it's just crap, but it's actually not. Um, it's actually not. uh, let's see here. Green-eyed lady, Dutch women. I have a friend in the Netherlands, and yeah, yeah, I've been there. They are very tall. I don't know if they are tattooed. I couldn't see much of that, but I don't know. I haven't been in in a situation where I could investigate that. Let's just put it that way. Code of Truth says, as far as I've heard, it's possible to buy the no, yeah, okay. The McDonald's hamburgers in Norway are not unhealthy. It's meat. It's that simple. Norwegian meat, by the way. So, but anyway, let's see. Um, I don't know what. There seems to be a tendency whenever you talk about this, you will get comments that are very hateful, and I understand. It's it's because people feel hurt when you talk about this, but that's also part of this culture that we live in now. Um, People think that they can go through life without being told these things. And I don't think we do anyone any service. We don't help anyone by not saying anything. And I have witnessed a curious phenomenon more than once among women, where it's not all women, but if you have a very fat woman, sorry to put it that way, but that's just how it is. And then you have another woman, not very fat, and she's saying, not very fat woman, she's saying, I am going to go on a diet and lose some weight. I witnessed a very fat woman saying, no, you shouldn't do that. You are perfect the way you are. And what's going on there? I think what's going on there is actually a very primal instinct of competition among women. First of all, the very fat woman, she would feel even worse if this not so fat woman went on a diet, dropped that weight. And also, there's, as I said, this sort of competition among women to be seen as attractive. And they're kind of leveling the field, if you will, um, as sexual partners, potential sexual partners. That's like, yeah, people are not really talking about that, but I think that's what's going on. And that's why they will try to talk other women down. You shouldn't aspire to too much when it comes to your looks. You shouldn't, you know. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's just something that I've observed more than once, and it's just a little bit um, strange and curious to see. So yeah. Um, let's see here. Among men, it's very different. And many times I have witnessed the following. Now, I'm in powerlifting, so, we are not that. Um, we, we're quite direct. So, it's normal to say to another guy, "You've gotten fat." And you can point at his belly, "You've gotten fat." And then that guy will probably agree, and that's fine. So, yeah. um, yeah, Dusty says, a man will tease his fat friend by saying, "Bro, I know 5 fat people, and you're 4 of them." Yes. Um, but that being said, I don't think that men should be fat, and there is no excuse for that. I think I think being a responsible man means that you should not be fat. You should drop that weight. You don't. Nobody has an excuse to walk around like a big blob. So lift some weights, eat your steak and some vegetables if you want to, and lose that weight. Keep the muscles. you know. Um, so okay. Yeah, not one says men just don't hate each other as much as women. That's true. That's true. I think I think there's a hatred among women that probably comes from the times when they had to compete for resources, and they had to compete for resources given to them by the men. Oh, that will provoke the feminists listening to this. I don't think any feminist is listening. 38 minutes, so they've clicked out before this. But yeah. Um, and again, who are the women who would be seen as worthy of sharing that food that you hunted with? That's the women who are either um, protecting and feeding and caring for your kids, or potential uh, mothers for your offspring. Because for men, it's about getting as many, not now, but it's like getting as many healthy offspring that lives up to adult age as possible, right? So I in that sense, it would make no sense to give any food to a woman who can't do that, right? Now, I'm not saying that that's how we should arrange things in society. Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. Following the same logic, me at the age of 53 should be dead. Because, well, maybe, no, that's actually not true. But Because back in the hunter gatherers, we think that they used to say, oh, they lived to the 30s, but no, that's not true, because some of them have been found, that the remains that have been found, some of them lived into their 60s actually, some of them. So yeah, I would still maybe have had some good years in front of me. But anyway, um, we have advanced a little bit, luckily, from those times. And but it's like it's good to go back to that, to kind of find the reasons for human behavior, because I think a lot of it comes from um, primitive times, if you will. uh, let's see. Uh, Yeah, I think it's very Lumio. I think it's very dangerous to say that there are genetic issues and sometimes health conditions related to weight. I think that's very dangerous to say, because those are rare occasions, but those are the things that almost everyone who can't lose weight or who haven't lost weight, they will say that, oh, it's genetic, oh, it's health, oh, it's this and that. Yeah, I had my neck fucking broken, and I still kept lifting weights. And if I can do that, you can lose weight if you want to. And also, here's another thing that I don't accept as an excuse. When people say, and I hear this all of the time, oh, it's much more difficult to lose weight now because I'm in my 50s now, or people start saying it in their 40s. And I've looked at the research actually being done on that. Yes, there is a difference, but it's very tiny. It's a tiny difference. And it doesn't explain why people, like guys my age, they all seem to be a bit fat. And they all use that excuse, oh, I'm middle-aged now, so I can have a little bit of extra on me. No. Well, you can if you want to, but if you don't want to, and people most often they do not want that, then age is not an excuse, and it's not the explanation. It's inactivity that is the explanation. Okay. So let's see here. Yeah, some people want to gain weight. That's absolutely a thing as well. Now, I've never met someone who wants to gain weight like fat weight. It's always muscle weight, right? And that's important and something that should be done. So yeah, there's been numerous, by the way, my viewing time says the way you eat can affect your weight. Some people are active, but they don't eat right. That's correct. If you eat typically a diet with, let's say, 80% carbs, you're not going to have an easy time losing weight. You're going to lose a lot of muscle, and you're going to keep the fat, right? Oh, you will lose the fat as well, but it will come at the cost of losing a lot of muscle, because you're not feeding those muscles with amino acids, right? We live in a society in the Western world and many other parts of the world as well, where we have an insane intake of carbs. It's as if we all run marathons every day. It doesn't make sense the way we eat now. It, it doesn't make sense. So, let's see. Now, teenage girl in Scotland pulling an axe and knife on an immigrant that was harassing her. I haven't heard about that. But that seems like a good thing to do. Good for her. Yeah, we need more of that. So yeah, when it comes to food, I'm actually starting a diet now on Monday. And I'm getting some assistance on that diet. So, but I'm pretty sure it will be completely, like 100% void of processed foods. Simply because if you eat processed food, you don't know what you're eating. And if you don't know what you're eating, then you kind of lost control. So that's important. And people say that healthy food is more expensive, and that is true. But I believe that if you eat, like, what do you call that in English? Like real foods. So you have an apple, right? And you can see that that's an apple. Don't buy the normal apples, but buy the organic apples, by the way. That's an apple, right? And then you have a steak. That's a steak. So you have two items, food items, and you know what this is, you know what that is. But if you have a pre-made meal and you're supposed to put some milk in it or water, and then you warm it up and it becomes some stew, you don't know what you're eating. And yeah, so that's kind of important. And I think that it's not more expensive if you just buy what you are supposed to eat and what you're supposed to drink. Yes, the things that you are buying will be more expensive, but you're not buying any of the other stuff. And I know this might sound harsh, and I'm like, I like potato chips. I like that. But I know I'm not supposed to eat that. So when I'm starting my diet, I will be saving money because I'm not buying that. I'm not, there's a lot of stuff I will not be buying. Okay. So, Feeling better naturally says, consider food as an investment in your health. Yeah, absolutely. And we need to, by the way, avoid things that have poisons in them, like that apple, and you can put the apple on a table, and it will look just the same after a month. Then you know that it's been covered with poisons. If I pick an apple off the tree here, which I will probably do after this live stream, because it's that season now, it tastes so much better. It just tastes so much better because it's how it's supposed to be, you know. So yeah, unprocessed meat, absolutely. I must admit, I sometimes buy that steak that has the marinade on it already. I think that's kind of okay. Yeah. By the way, if you want to know, you didn't ask, but I'll tell you anyway. I have had great success this year with my cucumbers. Yeah. So I'm a cucumber farmer now, and I can pick a cucumber every day off the cucumber plants. Yes. So I'm very happy about that. So, yeah, they are in a greenhouse, but the greenhouse is too small. It's a tiny greenhouse. So I had to open the roof and to kind of let them grow out of the greenhouse. So next year, I want to invest in a proper, a bigger polytunnel or greenhouse. I should probably have a greenhouse because of the storms here. That polytunnel, I don't think it will last through the winter storms. Getting tomatoes uh, as well. But in this climate, it's like you have to have them in a greenhouse, and I did, but they grew out of that again. So it's like if you start early with your tomatoes, they will just make it and get red before the frost. And we will have frost here within 3 or 4 weeks. I think there will be frost because it's cold during the nights now. Yes, Wendy, those are small tomatoes, like the cherry tomatoes. Yes. And artists, yes, I've gotten into a little bit like I found out that the soil is actually the most important part. I grow all of this in buckets raised off the ground because of the slugs. So yeah, I had a lot more success this year because I actually made the soil much better than last year. And the experiment I did this year is that I had some of these containers with the old soil and some with the new mixture, and the plants in the new mixture have all grown like big. So yeah, absolutely, that has a lot to do with everything. So Okay, I think that's it for now. And have a wonderful day or night. Hope you enjoyed the fat shaming. We'll get back to that another time. Okay. Bye bye.